Alrighty, welcome to the Center of Attention
Yo,
Sessions.
yo, 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 what's up? Dr. Tess in the house.
And Mark Drager, of course,
Yes.
all the way from Canada land.
From Canada.
From Canada, exactly right. You know, I have this funny thing where people often refer to Canada as Canada. And I don't, because we're in Australia, and so it must be Canada.
Okay, that must be an Australian thing.
An
And
Australian
it's funny
joke.
that you
Yeah, it's
say
an
from
Australian
all
joke.
the way over in Canada, because honestly, obviously America is the center of the world.
Apparently, the center
Canada
of the universe.
is pretty close to that.
Yeah.
So Australia seems really like all the way over there, right? All the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
in
yeah. Well,
Japan, all the way in Asia, all the way in Australia.
that's
Here
it.
we're just the tiny little neighbors. We're like Ned Flanders, like hey there neighbor to
Well, you know, we're
universe.
so far away, we're actually in the future. That's how far away we are.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
it's tomorrow morning where I am, and it's last night where you are, which is a bit of a mind bend in itself.
But
Um,
again, I'm in
mhm,
I'm in Eastern time zone, which is New York
mhm,
City and the East Coast of America. This is
mhm.
clearly the time zone. Every other time zone is measured from this one. So
You know where the
um,
sun rises first, though, right?
the sun never rises, right? It's all a construct that man created to decide what time zones would be.
Oh, we've gotten existential and philosophical very quickly.
It's a construct, I tell you.
What have you been eating today? You clearly got some energy and
Roast
some
beef.
attitude. Roast
Roast
beef.
beef. I went for a run in the rain. Let me tell you,
That'll
you want
do
to
it.
feel hardcore?
Yeah.
It's pouring outside. I'm going to go for a run. And my wife's like, it's raining. And I'm like, I'm going to go anyway. That
Yeah.
feels good.
It's like swimming in the rain feels really different
Oh,
to
that's
just
really
swimming,
nice.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I was reading something
As long
once
as there's
about
no thunder or lightning.
or sharks. Australia.
Sharks. I don't even think of sharks,
What you
on our
don't.
fresh lakes.
But I was reading something recently about how plants, people are obsessed with their lawn, and how gardens and lawns in particular seem to react differently to being rained on versus being watered with a hose. And I think it's something to do with the nitrogen or something that's in the rainwater as opposed to the tap
Oh,
water.
interesting.
Yeah. So I just,
I know that when it rains, um, the act of the rain or something or hitting the ground, you can tell I'm sciencey, right? It releases. I almost got you to spit out your
I
coffee there.
nearly snorted coffee out my nose then.
It releases ozone, I think, ozone. And so sometimes, right after the rain, when things smell really fresh
Mm.
and feel really fresh, that's actually just
Mhm.
ozone that's being released from it.
I'm just nodding like I
Apparently, it's
know what you're
not.
talking about.
Apparently, it's not good for you.
Oh, really?
But
Well,
well,
a
because people
hole
started
in the
creating.
ozone layer is not good for you. I
No,
don't
but
know.
you can buy ozone generators for your house, which make smell fresh and make you feel
Yeah,
amazing.
but then
Apparently,
that's
it's not good
stupid.
for you.
No, that would be stupid.
Okay.
People can sell pretty much anything and say it's good for you, and they can strap the word well-being on it
Yeah, like
and
like
sell.
psychology services, right?
Yeah.
I just had to say that.
I know.
I believe in seeking help and talking things through.
No,
So
I know. I think there's such an industry in well-being that comes from what's less than a scientific background.
mm,
Psychologists, mental health social workers, psychiatrists, mental health professionals, since
mhm.
we're saying them, dietitians, osteopaths, all these professionals within the wellness space actually have to do a lot of training, and many of them, myself included, have to abide by national regulations around
And a college of
registration
a
and
college of
all those things. Yeah,
professional services and
we've got
all
to
of those
remain
things. Yeah.
accountable, like to the point that I'm not even allowed, even though I have two distinct areas of psychology that I have additional what's called endorsement in, so clinical psychology and forensic psychology. In the medical profession, that would be referred to as specialist areas of practice. We're not allowed to use the term specialist. It's a protected title. Psychologist is a protected title. But there are people who, with no qualifications whatsoever, can decide to create some kind of ozone machine and
Mhm.
sell it to you for $30,000 with all sorts of promises. So we're not allowed to make promises. We're not allowed to make guarantees. We're not allowed to compete with each other. Like there's lots of rules around how we
Not allowed
practice
to
that really
probably make claims or testimonials
all
or
of that
reveal client
stuff,
information.
all of those things. Yeah. And then there's this subsector of that doesn't have those rules applied to them. So we've had a big incident in Australia recently with a, oh man, he's a chef gone rogue, I think, who, a chef. Yeah, right. Chef. You know, some of my favorite people on the planet. However, this guy, not so much. And he's done things in the past, like created, you know, a paleo bone broth for newborns, you know, and advertised that this is the savior for babies, and you know, really dangerous things. And there's no governing body other than, you know,
common sense
and
civility.
Yeah. So recently he was in trouble because he was advertising some light machine that's going to, I don't know, spray you with disco lights and that will cure you of COVID-19. So, you know, he's really gone rogue. He's gone all the way rogue. Yeah. I don't know how we got onto disco lights and chefs, but there we are. So be it.
This is what we do, isn't it?
This is so much of what we do.
but more than that, you wanted to talk about the fun subject of burnout.
I really did. So I guess there's a reason why we accidentally fell into talking about wellness. There you go. I made a link. I win a point. Okay, so let's talk about fatigue. So tell you my story, right? So not long ago, it seems like yesterday, we lived in a world where we could do what we liked, and everybody did what they liked, and everyone was busy, and everyone complained about being busy and being tired, but they still kept being busy. And in that world, I was regularly up having meetings every day at 6 o'clock in the morning and going for walks along the beach when I was living back in Tasmania and doing all these crazy early morning things. I now struggle with lockdown and all of that busy noise around decisions and all of the things that we're all having to face through the whole, you know, I'm managing my business from afar. I'm worrying about my kids. My youngest is slated to go back to school on the 9th of June. He's anxious about that. Yeah, he's anxious about
our
that.
Kids, our whole school's canceled because we're about to go into summer. So we've got nothing until September.
We're heading into winter. So, so, you know, everyone, and what I'm hearing from talking to others, it's like I now struggle to have any obligations any earlier than 9:30 in the morning, you know, whereas once upon a time, 6 a.m. was absolutely doable.
Okay.
And so anyway, I've done some things lately and tweaked my diary to try, and I'll talk about that in a minute, about what people can do to try and reduce the fatigue. But what I'm hearing, the point is what I'm hearing from many people that I'm talking to is this sense of decision fatigue and this sense of just general ill ease, if you like, or not even ill health. Like no one's saying that they're overly stressed. No one's saying that they're overly worried or overly anxious. Everyone's got a lot on their mind and a lot of decisions to be made every day. And, you know, obviously I'm talking to business owners who are worrying, I guess, about here in Australia, we've got a rolling sequence, I guess, of restrictions being lifted. And so where the fear is starting to sneak in for businesses is, do I or don't I? Do I reopen? Do I not reopen? Do I, like restaurants, let's look at restaurants. So they were given the green light to open for 10 people at a time a couple of weeks ago. Very few of them bothered with that. Obviously not worth opening, not even worth turning their ovens on for that. Now they can have 20 people at a time starting next week. Starting on Monday.
Wow, you guys are so far ahead of us.
Well,
yeah.
Well, you know, we are lucky. We acted earlier than a lot of countries, and we locked down really hard. And we are an island.
I mean, we locked down very early as well. We relative to so the only statistic that I've been looking at that appears to not be manipulated by number of tests or other things is deaths per 1 million population. I feel like out of all the statistics I've looked at, the deaths per 1 million, and then the pace of the deaths is a really great way to look at it. Now that could be skewed by the age of the population or other things like that, and then how a country may classify whether a death was related to COVID or not. But we locked down so early, and I think just starting just this Monday, just 4 days ago, we've allowed fast food restaurants to reopen but not serve anyone. No one can be seated.
No.
So
Yeah. So we've
all
had
they're allowed to do
takeaway.
is do takeaway where you walk in and get it.
Yeah, we've had takeaway and home delivery, and a lot of the smart restaurants have. Well, they're all smart. They're all smart, but a lot of the God, you got like the whole 2 camera action going on there.
No, my camera died. The battery just went like, I am done with that. And so,
yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
So now this is my laptop.
Nah, we'll live. We'll cope. So a lot of them have been doing really beautiful at-home services. So, a few of our favorites, we've now, been regularly, like instead of a regular night out, we've been having a regular night in with our favorite restaurants, bringing a pre-prepared meal. And so what they do, and I think this is a really great innovation in the hospitality industry, and I really hope that this stays as one of the things that's on offer, where you've got pre-portioned beautiful meals and instructions on how to prepare them so they taste like they were cooked just now.
My wife wanted to do that. Our favorite restaurant is a steakhouse, and she was like, I hear that you can order steak from the place and everything. I said, this is amazing. Great. Let's do it for our anniversary, which is how the whole anniversary dinner started. And then I found out, no, they just give you all of the ingredients. You still have to cook it all yourself.
No, this is all cooked, all done. So what we get
we get... It's portioned and cooked.
Portioned and cooked. So what you get, so last night, I know where this is going to go. I know the word that's going to spring out of your mouth. So my favorite French restaurant.
Yep. What word is going to spring out of my mouth?
So bougie.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's what you call me. You always call me that. Okay. So we had this.
You're like too old to be a hipster, but you've got everything else about the hipster going on, eh?
I'm pre-hipster.
There you go. Just very bougie.
Very bougie. See, there you go. It always happens. So we had, this beautiful meal for 2 delivered to us last night, and it's we had a 4-course meal. So we had a rabbit terrine with beautiful little apple chutney on the side that we had for our appetizer, and then we had an entree that was white fish cooked in a creamy sauce with mushrooms and bacon and stuff. Beautiful, all done French style, beautiful provincial French cooking. The main course, we actually could have split this over 2 nights. We made a mistake last night and ate it in one sitting. The main course was it bœuf bourguignon? No, it was lamb navarone. So it was lamb shoulder casserole, beautiful. And then a chocolate dessert, which we didn't eat the dessert. We were too full. And so what they do is the portions come in little vacuum sealed plastic bags. So it's cooked as if they're going to put it on a plate, but instead of putting it on a plate, they put each component in a vacuum sealed bag. And then you either open the bag and put that in the oven or boil it in hot water so it's reheated without drying out.
Or whatever you call it.
Whatever they call that clever thing that they do. So we've had that all the way through. We've been lucky that we haven't had to give up our gourmet.
So why are you feeling burnt out?
Needs. So I don't know why I hit a wall, but I do know that everybody in my circle has, and I don't know if it's because
is that just it? Like you're exposed to all these people who keep telling you how burnt out you are, so you can't help but feel
how burnt out they are. I think I've actually gone through this conversation quite a few times. Knowing that it's not just me has actually been helpful because I haven't had to look for blame. I haven't had to look like, what am I doing wrong, or what's wrong with me, or blah, blah, blah. So there's another business psychologist, business coach, friend of mine, Gerda, and we've talked about this quite a bit together as well. We've both felt similar ways, and we've both had to pare back our diaries, like our calendars, for a period of time just to take the pressure off ourselves. So that is the component of supporting other people, whether it's as a psychologist or as a business coach, supporting other people through their own experience at the moment. What I have noticed is most of the people I speak to have felt they were the only one going through that. So I've very deliberately put posts on social media recently where I've talked about being exhausted, where I've talked about being worried about the future. I've talked about all of these things. In the past, I would usually get 1 or 2 private messages from people when I did that saying, are you okay? But of course, my purpose of doing that is for other people to feel validated. So if I'm feeling it, I know someone else out there's feeling it too.
Of course,
so I'll share that experience. I'll share that experience. the
Are
difference
you taking
now.
on, are you taking on more than normal? Are you doing more than normal?
No, no,
Worrying more
no,
than
no,
normal?
no, no. But I have got a couple of layers to it, which I'll tell you about. The interesting thing with my posts about, these experiences now is I'm not getting the "Are you okay?" I'm getting the "Thank you so much" messages. So I'm getting private messages from people saying, "Thank you so much. It's so helpful to know that it's not me, that I'm not feeling this by myself." So for me, we also have, I guess, a couple of other layers. We've still got a house in Hobart. We were only halfway through. We were still fly in, fly out between Hobart and Melbourne. And our house is as if we just went to the shop. Right. It's not emptied, it's not packed up. I got no idea what state the place is in if someone else was to walk in there. So there's that. That's a sort of a burning background problem that we have to fix somehow. And until only a couple of a week or so ago, if we went back to Tasmania, we'd have to quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Now we would still have to quarantine, but we could quarantine in the house. So now the decision that's on us is, do we go back, get the house ready to put on the rental market? How much can we achieve if we lock down for 2 weeks in the house? We can't get people in to put new blinds on the windows. We can't get people in to take the rubbish away, all that sort of stuff. I also have, of course, elderly grandmothers in Tasmania. And so that plays on my mind a little bit. They're in their 90s. They're well, they're healthy, they're happy, they're living independently, they're doing all the things. But I don't know when I'll be back in Tassie. And I don't know, which means I don't know when I will see them again. And when I do see them again, I don't know when I might see them again later. Now, that would have been the case anyway, but now there's all these barriers in the way. I can't just get on a plane and go and visit my grandmother if she's unwell, for example, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So there's all that background noise. I think the main thing for us, working from home is my jam. That's what I do. So that's not that. Teaching the kids at home, that's my jam. Mm-hmm. That's not a big deal. So it's not about being under pressure. I think it's about being in a pressure cooker. And I think that's what most people are feeling at the moment. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of decisions that people are having to make here in Australia, businesses are having to make here in Australia because restrictions are easing, like I was saying before with the restaurants. Do they reopen to 20 patrons or do they not? There's a lot of businesses talking about, well, we've got some cash in reserve for when we reopen, so we can do a big thing and we can hire the people and we can do all the things. But what if we have to lock down again? What if we have to go through this again? If there's a second wave here in Australia, what if we have to do it all again? Then our cash reserve is gone. So there's like a push me, pull you feeling. Like everyone wants to be engaged with the community again, but fearful.
You guys have had the fires.
That's it.
COVID-19.
I think, yeah.
There's a second wave. It's just like, let's just write off 2020. Let's just figure out how to get through it.
Yeah.
And I think our eyes on the future.
Yeah. I think for Australians in particular at the moment, we've had a really rough 2020. I mean, everyone's had a rough 2020. Let's not be precious about it. But, our whole summer was taken up with worry about, the bushfires, and we've talked about that before. We all came out of the summer holiday period, in inverted commas, feeling exhausted anyway, especially as mental health professionals. We really felt the burden of that from a caring for the community perspective. So everyone, I think, was sort of hobbling along, looking for the Easter break, really looking forward to Easter holidays to sort of go and decompress and have a proper break. And of course, COVID hit before Easter, so we didn't really get a proper break. We never did get a proper break. So you guys heading into summer, I guess we're probably a bit envious of that because we're heading into winter. We're heading into, that's the other issue. Do you go to the doctor?
Keep in mind, your winters are different than our winters, right?
Oh yeah. Let's not go down that path again. Yeah. It seems so long ago that I was ragging you about snow, or you were ragging me about snow.
Yeah, it's because you went up a mountain, so you can point out that you had a
patch. It was literally a patch of snow.
So
on the
you
side
could
of the
literally, you could say like, look, there's 8 millimeters of snow.
Well, there are ski fields here in Victoria. There are ski fields, and they apparently are opening later in June, apparently. So what we've got is certainly here in Victoria anyway, we've got a government that's saying let's take a very measured approach. We've still got new cases materializing every day. And we've got a very measured, so almost like a fortnightly approach. And I think it's really wise. What they've decided is, let's do one new thing, see if that causes a spike in numbers. And we've also got the highest testing rates in the country here as well. So, they're trying to get a really good sense of what's actually happening in the community and keeping an eye on whether or not we actually have community transmission. And it doesn't seem that we really do to any great extent. Most of the cases are coming from known sources, like overseas travellers who've returned to Australia. So people are in quarantine already because they have to quarantine when they come in, or close contacts of people who've got COVID for whatever reason that they got it. We've had a couple of site-specific outbreaks, but other than that, there doesn't seem to be any sort of widespread community transmission.
So, but how is this burnout, I guess you call it, how is this any different than any other season of life? I mean, the difference, of course, is that this is universal, which I feel like gives us more, but I feel like this gives us more freedom. So the entrepreneur, the seasonality, the cyclical nature of the highs and the lows and the stress and the wins and the losses and everything else means that as business owners and entrepreneurs, we will always face this. We will always, I can recall going years back where I would be talking to a peer mentor or a mastermind group mentor or whatever it might be, and just saying like, I don't know, the last few weeks, I'm just not, I just don't have it. Like, I'm just like not ready to attack it. I'm just in this funk.
Yeah.
Right? And so now it's universal. So now
that's the issue. We're all facing it. Yeah. So I do think we all have periods like this where we all, for whatever our own personal reasons might be, where we've got a lot on all at once and we just go, that's it, I'm done.
But how is this any different to one of those things? So whatever got you through that?
I'm not necessarily sure. Well, that's we'll get to, and I think that's an important point. How to get through that. And I'm writing a book, and the book is all about, let's look at the lessons we've learned as businesses through the COVID and lockdown experience and identify how we actually could have been doing a lot of the things that these businesses are doing smartly. We could have already been doing a lot of those things to bulletproof our businesses in a way. So yes, it is about identifying strategies that have worked before. Certainly whenever I have hit points like this in the past where I've been exhausted because there's been too much on, and I've known what the source of the stress is, and I haven't felt able to stop so it might be a staffing crisis, or it might be a financial issue, or whatever it might be. And I haven't felt that I could stop because there was that issue that still needed to be attended to. I think this is the difference, is there's no single identifiable, as soon as this thing stops, I'll be right again. We don't know how long we're going to be living with COVID-19. The Premier here in Victoria was saying this morning that it's been advised up until this point that if you can work from home, you should. It is now required that if you have been working from home, you continue to do so, because they don't want an influx of people on public transport, and they don't want an influx of people in office buildings, in confined spaces together. So we're kind of getting all of these mixed emotional messages as well. Even though the advice has gotten very clear and it's really consistent, the emotional experience is a bit flip-floppy. So we're getting excited at our favourite restaurant. We've booked in for lunch at our favourite restaurant next week. Here's my week next week. This is how excited we've got. We've got tickets to go to the zoo, because they're now allowing 2,000 people into the zoo. Tickets to go to the zoo.
No, no. This is like I've had this conversation with my wife so many times.
I haven't finished yet. We've got tickets to go to the drive-in. I haven't been to the drive-in since I was like 7. I'm so excited. And then we've got, I don't even know what the movie is that we're going to see. It's probably completely inappropriate, violent, and full of sexual references. I don't know, but we're going. And we're going to lunch, and there'll be 20 people. 20 people.
If on Monday here, they said, these are all the things that were open, I wouldn't want me or my family to go to any of them.
I was of that opinion. A week ago. So that's where I was a week ago, is that we won't go anywhere, we won't do anything. obviously we're in a different situation here in Australia in terms of numbers of cases and all of that sort of stuff. But I feel like it's been a transitional.
Here's the conversation that I've had.
Okay.
Like, for example, we just opened our pool. It's summertime here. We are going to have friends over tomorrow evening. We've not had anyone over to the house. We're going to have friends over. And my wife said, this is her best friend. They have been doing parking lot dates where they sit each in their vehicle, 10 feet apart with the windows down every Wednesday, just so they could connect for 2 hours. Like that's
so beautiful.
That's how far apart they've been. But on the weekend, Jacqueline's like, do you think we could have them over? I said, okay, like we have a pool. They're going to be swimming.
Yeah.
So they bring their own chairs, they bring their own drinks, they bring their own food, or, they sit 6 feet away. They don't come into the house. We are literally social distancing in our backyard, right?
The thing that gets me,
people don't cross over, people don't. What do you mean?
What if they need to go to the toilet?
I'm on a half acre. There's trees. I'm serious.
I don't blame you. See, that's
does not bother me.
We've not invited anyone inside our home, and I've not gone inside anyone else's house.
They're not allowed.
I don't think, and I think that's probably where I'm still drawing a line at the moment, is feeling a little bit like too close is too close. So I did a photo shoot with my friend Lisa, who's clearly a photographer, and we did social distancing photo shoot. That's her in the background, holding my roller skates.
I saw that.
Yeah. Do you want to see? I'll show you.
But she's holding your roller skates, right?
Yeah.
So was she wearing gloves?
No, she's not wearing gloves. Oh my God.
Did you bleach them or wipe them down when she handed them to you?
No, but I didn't touch them for about 300 hours after thinking.
They say that it'll last up to 10 days on certain surfaces.
On certain surfaces. So she's holding shoelaces, not the actual thing.
I don't know.
Anyway, okay.
Here's where I'm going to come around. But I'm in the mind where if
you will come around.
Serious in March. This is what I said to Jacqueline. We took it seriously in March.
Yes.
We took it seriously in April.
Yeah.
People are getting impatient, so they don't want to take it seriously anymore. But it's just as serious today as it was.
Absolutely.
The first month and the second month.
Yeah.
And I'm entrenched. I'm like, if we weren't going to take it seriously on the home stretch, then we shouldn't have bothered taking it seriously this whole time. So
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Get the home stretch down too.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So for example, here in Australia, we haven't, like, our food markets haven't closed. So we've still had a number of places where people will be in the same space still open.
Yeah, all of our shops are still open.
Yeah. So, and those elements, so I'm sort of mapping it against that. In terms of decisions I'm making decisions on, okay, so the zoo is actually less confined than, like Melbourne Zoo's massive. It's less confined, and they're restricting it. You've got to book a ticket. You have to book a ticket, and they're restricting it to 2,000 people, including babies. Like, you have to book a ticket for everybody going. Will be less confined than when I went to the market the other week and nearly had a panic attack. And that was my first time going into.
So we go grocery shopping every week.
Yeah, so I haven't gone grocery shopping.
They restrict the number of people in every store here. You have to line up outside.
Yeah.
And when someone comes out, someone can go.
Yeah. So my shopping has been limited to little local places that have really clear guidelines, 4 people in the shop at any one time and all of that sort of stuff. I've not been in a major shopping centre. So for me, going to the market was it was a bit overwhelming. And I didn't realise how overwhelming it would be till I got there. I was actually excited to go until I got there. I was like, oh, now I changed my mind.
Isn't that weird?
It's like getting on top of the diving board, right? It's such a great idea until you're up there.
It's so bizarre how you're like, you go into fight or flight mode, just going to the Costco for us.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think my take on it is I bought the tickets. Now, when I get to the zoo, if people are being stupid, if people are milling about the entrance, if people are milling anywhere, I'm just going to turn around and leave. Like, I can make that decision on the day, right? But I don't suspect that that's what's going to happen. I think that people are going to be really careful. And if they're not, I'll leave. Obviously, the drive-in's not a problem, but same with going out for this lunch, 20 people. And I know the restaurant well, and I can actually visualize how they will separate people. We were there for dinner I think on the 25th of March, I think it was a week before they closed all the restaurants down, and I saw how they had people separated then. You know, it was really
We've been in lockdown
sensible.
since the 12th of March.
Yeah, we were
12th
locked
of
down.
March.
Yeah, we were locked down. Early April was when the like shutters. You just hear the whole city going bang, 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 bang. You know? So we are a little bit ahead of you guys, and I think that my stance even a week ago was very much I don't want to be part of any of this lifting of restrictions, whereas now I'm starting to feel okay. How much of that is just me and how much of that is wise? So I'm trying to make the different, and again, that's that decision fatigue that people are experiencing, and it's different for everybody, deciding what's a wise thing to do. So we had last week, we had this week we had infant school and year 11 and 12 going back to school in Victoria, and then on the 9th all the other kids will go back to school. We've used the Gallipoli analogy where we had the first wave of the troops going over the top into, the battlefield. That's the little kids and the years 11 and 12s. And then on the 9th of June, the second wave will go over the top. And I will make a decision about Henry going back to school then.
I'm glad that they canceled the year, but if they hadn't, I mean, our school ends typically on the 25th of June.
Yeah.
And so we knew that schools would be closed till May 31st. And so they just announced last week that it's, they're not going to send them back for 3 weeks. But even if they had suggested it, I already told my wife, I was like, there's no point in sending them back for that amount.
It's not a necessity. No. And they've only got 3 weeks of school left here as well. So at this stage, I'm encouraging Henry
So why? Stay home.
I know.
Stay home.
I know.
You learn so much more baking with mom or whatever it is than you do.
Check it out. My sourdough is on point right now. Anyway, I think there are reasons. I don't know what the reasons are, but there are reasons. There are some reasons that make sense to me, some reasons that don't make sense to me. At the moment, my concern is Henry's anxiety about it. So our approach, partly our decision to engage in things outside the home, is to help him desensitize.
What are you laughing about?
Okay, here's what I'm laughing about, because when I'm talking, Zoom focuses on me because I'm the speaker. And so when I'm talking, Mark is behind the scenes shoveling roast beef into his face.
I'm almost done eating, but I've been muting myself carefully.
You're doing a really good job.
I'm really just trying to make sure that I don't mess you up at all.
It's really hilarious. This is funny.
But yes, the plate is empty now, so we can ignore the beautiful roast beef that I made.
I'm very impressed. So Henry's even been, and a lot of kids are like this, right? Anxious to go outside. So this is a kid who couldn't scooter enough, just can we scooter everywhere? Can we scooter? Is it possible to scooter to Hobart? No. He just could not get enough scootering, and now is very resistant to even going outside. So we gradually, and a lot of kids are experiencing that. I know that a lot of children are experiencing that. Yeah. So,
we've not had that here.
Well, I guess, we live in an apartment building, and we ride on a main road, busy road. And there's a lot of people.
We're in a suburb.
Using the park behind us.
On a half acre.
Yeah. So you've got your own little bubble, right? You've got your own bubble. So our bubble is a shared bubble. Yeah. Our bubble is a shared bubble. I think that, so part of our decision-making around engaging in outdoor activities has been around reintroducing ourselves to the outside world. Now, whether that means, I don't have an all or none approach, right? I very much don't. Everything's a see how we go. So they opened playgrounds for the first time this week. So we found a lovely wooden playground, huge, big thing, great thing, climbing and all that stuff. And it was great to see some excitement from both of the boys to just get out and do something that kids used to take for granted, right? Look, we're just going to take it a step at a time, and we will make our decision by the 9th of June about what's in Henry's best interests. He's, it's no skin off our nose to keep homeschooling. We've done it before, and I'm quite comfortable doing it. And Simon's been doing a great job of taking on that role as well.
So here's a question I have for you. So, I mean, obviously you're very, very well trained and you know exactly what's going on. Maybe it's hard for you to self-diagnose because it's easier to diagnose others, but you know the answers, the problems, and if you can recognize it, what's I guess for someone as trained as you, what's the problem, right? Like you go, no, I'm feeling this way. What should I do? I should do this. Okay, I'm going to forgive myself for it. I'm going to change my schedule, my diary, and away you go. So,
mm.
are you just feeling the problem for everyone else right now, or
For
are you
me,
feeling the problem for
no,
yourself?
for me personally, what happened was my sleep got disrupted. And, you know, I've actually been quite famous for loving my bed. You know, even my mum would say, I always loved my bed as a kid. You know, 10 hours is my ideal scenario of how much sleep I need. Yeah, I'm like a teenager, seriously. But I very rarely get that. You know, I have children. But, you know, that would be my heaven on a stick scenario. But my sleep got so badly impacted in a way that I was just being woken. It was like being back in newborn baby kind of zone where I was just being consistently woken all night long. And it would be the most ridiculous sound, like the sound of the pedestrian crossing, tick, 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 down the street. I could hear it and it would wake me up. The sound of the dog licking his lips woke me up one night. Just like, what? You know, so, and again, not overly worried about anything in particular, but just functioning on a different physiological level such that my sleep was impacted, which made everything else worse. So, so what I did to manage that was I stopped any commitments before a certain time in the morning. I just got rid of everything before 9:30. The only thing before 9:30 is Evan, and I actually cancelled him this week because I just couldn't face the thought. I was still at that really bad sleeping stage, and I couldn't face the thought of having to get up and function at 8:30 in the morning. I mean, that's not super early, but it was just too much. So I cleared my decks for early morning appointments, got all of those out of the way, and then just focused on some traditional sleep hygiene techniques, you know, taking some valerian tablets. I've got the burner here with some lavender oil going, you know, not having coffee too late in the day, which usually doesn't affect me, but I just thought I'm going to pull out all the stops, you know, try and having some warm milk before bed, all of the things. And my sleep has returned to something approximating normal, which is good. And I do feel better. I feel energized. But you're right about, I think the thing that people don't do well is self-compassion. And that is something that took me a long time to get my head around a proper understanding of what that looks like for me. And it'll be different for everybody. But, you know, being okay with being human and sort of forgiving yourself for having human frailties and just being kind, treating yourself with the same kindness you might treat one of your children or your best friend or your mother or your grandparent. You know, that level of kindness that you show others, we very, very rarely show ourselves. And I think now is a really important time that we pull that out of our back pocket and really inspect that and say, okay, how much of a hard time am I giving myself on top of this already hard time? So that's probably the number one. But for you know, for everybody, I've been talking a lot about, you know, have a look at, you know, like a forensic look at what commitments you've got in your calendar and decide. Just decide. Don't be beholden to your diary. And that's where I often get. That's where I fall over, is I get beholden to what's in my diary and forget that I have agency over what's in my diary. I can actually reschedule things. I can cancel things. I can question whether things are essential, you know, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I created a new schedule 3 weeks ago, and I started doing it 2 weeks ago. And the first week was a bit challenged. Second week locked in. This week has been really hard because on the weekend I was outside working away, moving stones and all of this stuff, working all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And it was very hot here. It was 36 degrees.
Far out.
Yeah, I know. It was a heat wave and I was outside.
I can't imagine Canada gets that hot, given how much snow you get.
In the summertime here, it gets quite humid. I mean, it's similar to like New York. So we can get to like mid 40s with the humidity. It's always like in the winter, it's with the wind chill. In the summer, it's with the humidity. You never really have the real, it's always like feels like. Do you guys have the feels like temperatures over there or no?
Yeah.
It's 22, but it feels like 30. Like
yeah, nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I hate that. Yeah.
So it was It was very, very hot. I didn't realize that I gave myself, I don't think it was heat stroke, but anyway,
yeah, right.
I could not go to sleep because literally I was having such stomach issues. Just like, anyway, so it's like 1 a.m. and finally I'm like, I'm so exhausted that I have to fall asleep. And so that messed me up because I stayed up late. Then I slept in the next day. And then literally, like this morning, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. and I look at my clock and it's 7:15 and my alarm isn't going off. And I don't know if it just literally, the iPhone like rang and rang and rang until it finally decided that this dude's not getting up. So it stopped, or if I hit stop, I don't know what happened. But my new calendar, my new schedule has me starting at 5 a.m. every day. And so if I don't start at 5 a.m. and I'm starting at 7:30, like that's a 2.5 hour chunk every day that I'm missing. That's 10 hours a week or more, right? If my math isn't very good. That's a lot of time that I'm missing. And so each day I'm trying to play catch up to make up for it. And that's the biggest thing for me right now is I'm going, okay, I'm staying up too late. I got to get back. I got to get back to getting up early. I got to get back to going to bed early. I need to not get mad at myself if I miss a morning.
And I think that's the important thing is actually be flexible. It's okay to have a routine and a system for yourself, but you've got to be flexible with it. Like if you need more sleep, you need more sleep. What I am noticing at the moment, with my sleep improving, I've got my alarm set for 8 o'clock every morning, unless it's an Evan morning and then it'd be earlier. But at the moment, I've got my alarm set for 8 o'clock. And I'm noticing that I'm actually waking up earlier than that. I'm waking up at probably 7:30, which is great, and that allows me time to sort of wake up naturally when I've had enough sleep and then get up and get on with my day. And I'm not feeling stressed before I've started. I'm feeling quite, good. And that is a late start for me, but it's what I need right now. And I think everybody needs to have a think about what they need right now. There's no...
Do you exercise?
Yeah, look, I don't. Well, do I? I don't know. I don't know. I think that's the one thing that I've noticed. Incidental exercise for me. So we've got a swimming pool in the building, we've got a gym in the building, and we just started, incorporating that into a bit of a routine for ourselves, and that's all closed at the moment. I don't run, and I do walk, but I have noticed that I've not been walking.
You walk like an hour a day?
I don't at the moment. I was, but I don't at the moment. So yeah,
as someone who's never really exercised before, until about a year and a year and a half ago, that's the one thing that I think has helped me the most through this.
Yeah. Well, you see, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think because where I live, there's people around and all that, and there's a hospital down the road and there's all that sort of stuff. And there's been such a focus up until now on staying inside. If you can't, like if you didn't have to leave you could leave the house for exercise, of course you could. But it just seemed a real disincentive to be outside unless you really needed to be outside. And
you could exercise.
Of course, yeah, of course, right? Yeah, of course, all those things.
Squats.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Some dancing, some Zumba.
Oh, well, see, I do a lot of incidental. And the thing that I'm always dancing around the house. Right? Always dancing around the house. But the thing that I've noticed that I've actually missed more than anything is the walk every morning and afternoon across the park and back to take Henry to school.
For coffee. Oh, okay.
No. That walk still happens. That still happens. The
man with the mustache who makes the coffee in 12 minutes or whatever.
No, actually, I get my coffee from down the street where they only serve one size and they do not serve decaf. So my husband cannot get his coffee from there. They are such coffee Nazis. I love it. They're coffee Nazis. I love them. They make good coffee. But I have also bought every coffee making device under the sun during lockdown. Like I'm now making pretty good coffee. So exercise is absolutely excellent for mental health. It's excellent for sleep. It's all the things. We take the kids out. We found a place where they're comfortable to go scootering. There's big open space where they can just scooter like mad. So we do take them there, and we do try for walks every day if we can, and all that sort of stuff. But it's not the same it doesn't feel the same as it did before. So in the past, I'd go for a walk and I'd be gone for as long as I wanted to go, and I'd go wherever I felt like I wanted to go. And there's always, again, this is the decision fatigue that people have been talking about, this, or do I go that way because there might be too many people that way, all of just little things like that pile on top of each other. So it's interesting.
Is this real? Is this
Yeah. A lot of people are talking about this decision fatigue. And I think living in a built up area does make that more pressing. Like, it does make it more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If anything during this time, I mean, I did have worry. I did have stress. I did have that anxiety early on, like back in March.
Yeah.
But since then, I have been either very good,
yep,
or upset with myself for taking it too easy almost. Like just dealing with the maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, there is a period of uncertainty. There's not many big swing decisions we could make right now. So, so like, I'm not worried. I'm not scared. Yeah. We're not doing anything out of a protected state. So we were kind of in limbo, and
I think hearing you talk, I'm hearing you talk, and it reminds me of what I felt probably a few weeks ago before they started talking about lifting restrictions.
Now I am worried about that. I'm worried about that. Like we are right now on schedule to send our team back to work June 15th. So our offices will reopen on June 15th. But no one has to go to work.
No.
Right? Like, we're not making anyone work. My new schedule only has me actually driving into the office 1 day a week. I made the decision when I built my new schedule, and I said, what do I love about this? And what do I hate about this? And how can we hold on to the things that I love about this in my new schedule? And I'm going to try and do that. And I had a meeting with my team this morning about even making my schedule even more restrictive. So, it's like, if anything, and we just last week, we made a few big decisions, these big domino decisions, and we are bringing on a new team member. Even, we had a team member a new role we wanted to hire for, where, she came in on the 11th of March on a Wednesday. She came in on the 11th. We said, we are going to put in the offer letter for you on Friday. And Friday was the first day of the lockdown.
Oh, so you told me about this. So she's joining.
Yeah. So she's joining. So awesome. So she's been reaching out. She never thought we would circle around with her. We've been always thinking about how great she would be to have her on the team. And we are getting ready for, great. Life is going to come back to not normal. Life is going to start again. We've been in limbo. It's going to start. So what do we got to do to be ready? And so we're hiring a new person. We're hiring a new team member. We're making big plans. We're doing big things. We're opening our office on the 15th. But at the same time, I'm part of a business meeting group where right away we're not planning any in-person meetings until potentially September. And even then, we're already talking about a second wave. Yeah. And so we already know, we're planning a second wave in September, October, November. There may be a vaccine by December, January, February. We'll see, or maybe next year. So here we're already just stretching things out so far.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And our government has been so, I don't know about your programs, but our government has been so responsive to just throw money at the problem.
Yeah.
Our staff right now qualify so that way 75% of our payroll is being paid for by the government.
Yeah.
To keep people employed.
Yeah, right.
That is a very large amount. I am only
there's a lot of money. Yeah. There's a lot of money. So if we've got a situation where if businesses have suffered a 30% downturn in one specific month, so I only need to look at a month, compared to the same month the previous year, as a result of COVID, then they're eligible for a program called JobKeeper, where the employer receives $1,500 per fortnight per employee, and they have to pay that amount of money. So they have to pay, basically it's to keep people in their job. That's why it's called JobKeeper. We have
that same thing.
Yeah, similar.
It's 75% regardless of seniority or pay.
Yeah, right. That's amazing. Well, here it's a set amount. So for some people, the employer still needs to top up the salary, and for some people, they're getting a temporary pay rise because it's a set amount. Yeah, it's a set amount. but we're not eligible. We didn't suffer a downturn. So,
well, that's good, right?
Well, it is good. Yeah. No, I'm actually talking about, I was thinking about, you know, people returning to work. So my team in Tasmania, my team is in Launceston. As you know, I sold the Hobart practice, and the Hobart practice has maintained face-to-face therapy throughout with an option of telehealth. My team in Launceston and on the east coast of Tasmania, we went to full telehealth very early. My team we've got a significant amount of funding for that team, and so we just went full telehealth. A lot of rural outreach was being done where my team would travel into medical centres in small country towns, and they were starting to say, yeah, we don't want you coming in. So we just went full telehealth. And what I'm noticing now, even though as an essential service we could easily reinstate face-to-face services, because obviously Hobart and many other psychology practices still offer face-to-face, my team's anxious about it. And I personally don't feel a hurry to throw them back into something that's creating anxiety for them. So telehealth is working really well. What we've noticed is fewer no-shows, fewer cancellations, because people are not having to travel to get to an appointment. So we will just keep telehealth going for as long as, you know, I don't think we'll be, and again, you know, looking at the flu season and all of that, you know, we're just going to watch and wait and steady as she goes. I was talking about this a little bit lately too, for business owners it's okay to be slow to uptake any change at the moment. I think there's a lot of watch and wait. Some innovation needs to happen quickly, like you need to be fleet-footed in some respects, but in others it's okay to steady as she goes. You know, if you've implemented some amazing innovations in your business, you don't have to throw them out the window just because restrictions are being lifted. Like you can actually hold on to that innovation and continue as you are for now, and just see what comes next, if you like. You know, there's no rules around that. It's an interesting time. So yeah, I mean, I think when we were in full lockdown and there was no talk of restrictions being eased, I was not worried at all. Quite happy, quite comfortable. My only worry was them lifting restrictions too early. You know, would they? You know, like a big what if. Once they started talking about it, then I started
releasing them, and you're like gung-ho to hit the restaurant and go to the zoo and do all of this stuff. So if this is what I don't understand, if you're like,
it's a rebound,
anxious and have all this anxiety and stuff, then just stay in lockdown. Just stay in lockdown. You feel so safe in lockdown.
Yeah, I know, but I think that's what I'm saying about there's a transition, right? So there's a transition. I'm not going to do anything crazy. You know, I am not walking into a supermarket anytime soon. You will not see me in a supermarket.
See, that's so crazy though, because I've gone to supermarkets once or twice a week.
See?
We've gone to the liquor store because, you know, the only thing that gets us through this is alcohol.
Yeah, I know, right? So, horses for courses. I also have a convenient bottle shop. You would call it a liquor store downstairs.
We have to buy it off of the government. We cannot. There's no way to buy alcohol unless if it's from the Liquor Control Board.
Do you not have independent
restaurants who serve alcohol buy that alcohol from the Liquor Control Board?
Wow.
And serve it. If we want to go buy alcohol, you have to go to what's called the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. You have to go to the liquor store. There's no gas stations. There's no grocery stores. There's no corner shops. You literally have to go to the government agency to buy alcohol from them.
Wow. That kind of sucks. Okay, sucks to be you.
And it's taxed at an incredibly high rate.
I bet it is, of course. There's no conflict of interest there whatsoever. Yeah. So look, transition. So look, yes, definitely that 2-week burnout period, or a week and a half, or whatever it felt like a year, whatever it was. It might have only been 5 days of just feeling exhaustion. It was about, again, that decision fatigue and the what ifing and the worry about, is this happening too quickly? And then I guess, you know, transitioning through that, I'm now looking again and recognizing I actually have agency. I can get so excited. Like our favorite things as a family are zoos, museums, restaurants, and movies, cinemas. Like we're hanging out for the cinemas to reopen.
I am so the opposite of you. My favorite thing is
that.
not talking to people, staying home, and doing the same thing over and over and over again.
That's my personal favorite thing. But these are the things that we do as a family, and it's exciting for us to be able to have a taste, and we will taste these things next week. And like I said before, if we rock up and it looks unsafe, then I'm not afraid at all to say, stuff that, I'm out. I don't even care if I lose money on the deal. I don't care. I'm going. I'm not. If I'm not feeling comfortable, it won't happen. So it is a transition. So it'd be interesting to see how you guys approach that when the time comes for restrictions to start to lift. Whether
we have our phases similar to you. There's 4 phases.
Yeah.
We're in phase 1 right now. So medical offices, and as I mentioned, restaurants for just quick serve. So like our coffee shops were not open. Like all of our coffee shops were closed unless if it was drive-through only.
How is there not a riot?
When we were on full lockdown, there was only pharmacies, grocery stores, gas stations. Yeah. Even our essential service hardware stores and everything were for curbside only. So you would have to, I don't know if you guys don't have Home Depot there, right? Do you know Home Depot?
No, I know of it. I have a friend who works at a Home Depot.
One of my favorite places to go. I love the Home Depot. Anyway, it was amazing because I was renovating my son's room, and every few days I needed stuff. So I would just plan my list of what I needed. I would order it online. And then 2 days later, they would say, your order's ready for pickup. And they would just roll it out to my truck. And I didn't have to walk through the store. I didn't have to line. I didn't have to do anything. I loved it. It was the greatest thing ever.
Awesome.
And then they unlocked everything. And then I'm like, now I got to go through the store and pick everything up myself.
I was talking to a friend of mine who works in a Home Depot in, where is he based? You're in Oshawa. Where's he based? I can't remember now.
Is he in Canada or America?
Yeah, he's in Canada. No, he's not far from you. He's actually really close to you. It's probably your Home Depot. Go into the kitchen section and look for Neil and say, I said hello, and see what happens.
Great.
Yeah.
We have 2 or 3 Home Depots in Oshawa. So I'll
I know. It's all right.
Is Neil here?
Tess said hello.
Do you know a Tasmanian who lives in Australia named Tess?
Tasmania is Australia. Now, but he was talking about the stress of when customers started coming back into the shop and people misbehaving in terms of social distancing and the anxiety of the workers. That was a really interesting conversation, hearing behind the scenes, the anxiety of the workers. And management trying very hard to support the staff, but customers not necessarily doing the right thing. So it was really interesting from a behind the scenes conversational perspective to see that unfold. I think, like we've got, like I said before, one layer of things we're still in a state of emergency here in Victoria. So we haven't lifted that. And every 2 weeks. So it's like we've got time with each change to see if symptoms start presenting themselves in the community before we go to the next level, and then the next level, and the next level. We will just see, we will try things like a playground and a zoo trip and a lunch in a restaurant, and we will see how we feel is the other thing too. I kind of want to test that. Like I kind of do want to test how I feel, like whether I feel safe and whether we all feel safe. And if we don't, that's fine. It means that we need to take a little bit longer to implement for us as a family what we do. And now I'm losing my voice.
Just lock yourself in. You'll feel extra safe. Shut out the world. Build a bomb shelter. Get canned beans.
Because it sounds like so much fun, right? And I think that's the thing too. There's lockdown fatigue, all of those things that people are experiencing. I think everyone needs to just take a measured approach to what feels okay for them to do, because it won't feel okay for the next person and it'll seem super tame to someone else. I think you just got to do what feels right for you. And I'm a big one for testing boundaries in a safe way, like testing our own boundaries. Is it just anxiety or is this a real issue? Very aware that it only takes one person to create an outbreak. So, we've got that in mind as well. We'll just see how things go. the big one for us is, you know, the school return and seeing what that's going to look like. We're just in two minds, not
Just
wedded.
Keep the boy home. Just keep the boy home.
Yeah, you'd be his best mate right now. That's what he wants. Yeah, that's what he wants. Yeah.
3 weeks is not going to make or break his educational career.
No. Oh, I've got no worries about that. No worries whatsoever about that. I would love for him to socially, he's missing his friends. So I would love for him to spend a little bit of time with his friends, even just one day back at school to see his mates, and reconnect with them. And then I don't care, to be honest. After that, I don't care if he doesn't go back. You know? So for me, it's about his mental health as well as, it's got nothing to do with educational outcomes.
Meet up with his mates and go for a bike ride and stay 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you guys do that in Australia? Do kids ride bikes? Or is that
they do. Yeah, we don't have bikes yet. Remembering, you know, half our world is still in Tasmania. So we don't have, a lot of stuff that we would have implemented, we haven't yet. And of course, we were talking about buying bikes anyway, and then bikes.
Well, here's the thing. You're a strong woman.
I'm a tough woman. That's it.
There you go. We won.
We totally won. We're all
winners here.
We're all winners. You know, so I think bottom line, if you're feeling it, if you're feeling exhausted, if the decision fatigue is getting you, just listen to that and be okay with that. Just pause, do what you can to ease the burden, do what you can to be kind to yourself. Stop giving yourself a hard time. It's okay.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That's my answer.
Your answer is like, let go, let's go, but it's okay.
My answer is like, I don't know. I struggle. I don't want people to feel bad about themselves. But
no, it's important.
I think we're too soft on ourselves. I think we're too forgiving of ourselves. I think we let ourselves off the hook. I think like I need the other side of it. I need to remind myself that I'm going too slowly, that I'm taking too much time off. That if I wake up at 5 a.m. and it hurts, it's not a big deal because an hour later, I'm going to feel great. I'm going to feel fine. I'm going to be in the zone. Like I already sit in the like super forgiving side of myself. I have no problem forgiving myself for not feeling well. You know, I'll be like, I think the other side of that. Which
and I think most entrepreneurs and business owners are high achieving, conscientious, hardworking. You know, those are the words. Yeah, that's just who we are. Where I look for the balance, you know, as you know, I'm writing a book at the moment and I am behind with my self-imposed timeline. There's no one else's timeline, it's mine. And was giving myself a really hard time when I was not sleeping and all the other stuff. And I actually had to sit myself down and give myself a good talking to about, this is your timeline. Nobody else, no one's going to take your firstborn child if you don't finish this book in the timeline that you set yourself. It's okay. So, you know, now that my energy's back, like this afternoon is all about editing the last 2 chapters and recording the final 3, and you're transcribing the final 3. You know, and you know, the book will happen because I'm conscientious, hardworking, and you know, all those things like everybody else. So it's about, I guess, finding the balance. I don't want people to feel bad about themselves. I don't want people feeling they have to be busy to someone else's expectations. I also want people to achieve and do well and call bullshit on their excuses, but I want them to know the difference between a bullshit excuse and a real reason. So the real reason, if you're feeling burnt out, that's a real reason to just look at what you're doing and find a balance. And the balance might need to be different temporarily. Or if you need to ramp things up again because you've just been bullshitting yourself, well, so be it. That's okay too. Depends on where we're each at, I guess. It's different.
We'll leave it there.
That's my red ribbon.
I like it.
I wrapped it up in a ribbon for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Centre of Attention. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye for now.